Hello and welcome back to the Dougie Critchley football YouTube channel. I'm sorry I haven't been doing more of these long form videos on this channel. Aside from the truth in 2026, it was a rampant start to the year. So much going on, a few trips away, etc. But I'm going to try and bring them back way more regularly for you. Thanks so much for all your support on this channel. Today, guys, I'm looking ahead to the summer window. I've picked out 5 transfers that I think are so obvious that they have to simply happen this summer as soon as possible. When that window opens, let's get into the video. I'm going to kick off with a move to Man United. Now, I record this on Monday night before their Monday night football game, but I think what's clear is that Man United need to sign at least 2 central midfielders this summer. That is because Casemiro has announced, obviously, that he is leaving the club. Manuel Ugarte, I think he should probably be moved on, given the fact that Ruben Amorim is no longer there. He's really struggled to settle at all at Man United since joining from PSG. Toby Collier is obviously so young. The Fletcher twins, they'll take a few years to mature. So really, they're looking pretty thin on the ground after Casemiro's departure, which is why I think they should look at Leeds' Anton Stach for one of those signings. Now, of course, they will be looking at the likes of Elliot Anderson. They will be looking at the likes of Adam Wharton too, the more expensive arrival. But I think Anton Stach makes a lot of sense too. This is a guy who, of course, prior to arriving at Leeds, established himself in the Bundesliga, played 4 regular seasons there. He's got a phenomenal injury record. He's only missed 12 games in the last 6 seasons. This year, for Leeds, I think he's made a massive impact at that club. I don't think they would be looking like pretty sure bets to survive. I think Spurs, West Ham, Forest in far worse states than Leeds as it stands as I record this video, and Anton Stach's been a massive part of that. He's contributed 4 goals and 3 assists in 24 games, but it's the all-round nature of his game that makes me think that he could adapt really nicely to Man United. And look, he is 27, he's not the youngest signing they could go for, but if they are signing an Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton, who do have a certain amount of Premier League experience right now, but Anton Stach is that little bit older, and he will mature really nicely over the next few years, you think. I think he's got excellent dead ball delivery. He'd add a more physical side, because although Elliot Anderson covers a lot of ground and makes, I think it's over 4 tackles and interceptions this season, Adam Wharton more of that connecting player, Anton Stach has a little bit of everything to his game and has that physical stature, which would be necessary in this Man United midfield if it's Kobbie Mainoo and a partner going forward. So that is a really nice pickup, in my opinion, for Man United. Anton Stach makes so much sense. I mean, this season, only Rice, Szoboszlai and Bruno have created more chances in the entire Premier League. He ranks 2nd at Leeds for total amount of shots taken. He's won 83% of his challenges too. This is a real all-round player that has that Premier League experience. We've seen the issues at Spurs this season with a lot of their players that they brought in over the last few years not looking mature enough, not having that Premier League experience. Anton Stach here, ready to go from Leeds. That's the only issue. Would Leeds sell to Man United? But given the fact that they spent, I think it was 20 million euros to sign him in the summer, if Man United offered more than double their investment, say 40, 50 million pounds, I think Leeds might have to come to the table. Do you like the fit? Let me know in the comments. Next up, I want to talk about an outgoing from the Premier League, and I think there is a decent chance that Ben White leaves Arsenal this summer, and I think there's a decent chance that he says, look, I've done well in the Premier League, I've established myself there, I've made a reputation, I've broken into the England squad in years gone by before that falling out with Steve Holland and Gareth Southgate, but I'm kind of done with the Premier League for now, and I think he could make a massive impact in Serie A. I think Inter Milan should definitely look at him, but I think he'd be a really nice fit for Juventus too. This is a player of real high quality, but who just simply hasn't been used that much so far this season. He's played just 7 league games. By the time it's nearly March. It's March literally next week. And he's been left on the bench 17 times, guys. He's played fewer minutes than Mosquera. And on the weekend, when Arteta decided to change things second half and take off Timber, it was Mosquera that went on at right back instead of Ben White, which adds further sort of issues in my mind about where Ben White ranks in Arteta's mind going forward. I think Ben White would also be amazing for a club like Chelsea, but I think they're almost too proud to make that signing of Ben White. They're clearly looking trying to win this whole thing with players under the age of 23 when they sign them, mature as a side together. Ben White's obviously not in that age range. I think he'd be really good for Juve. Under Spalletti, Juve have been a lot better up until the last few weeks, and a shocking week last week where they got thrashed by Galatasaray, lost on the weekend too. They're now in a real fight for top 4. It looked like they might get into the title conversation a few weeks ago. Inter now 10 points clear. Amazing weekend for Inter. But Juve definitely need to improve that defence, because only Inter have scored more goals than them in Serie A so far this season, but 5 sides have conceded fewer. And given the fact that Bremer, their outstanding centre-back, has such a horrific injury record, they definitely need to sign another centre-back who has a much better injury record, which is Ben White, to be honest. He's rarely missed that many games, or at least in 2 bigger spells for Arsenal. He's just not being picked by Arteta this year. If someone offered £35 million to Arsenal, given the fact that they signed him for £50 million a fair few years ago now, I think Arsenal could come to the table and accept that offer. Next up, I want to talk about Elliot Anderson potentially joining Real Madrid. Now, Adam Wharton is a more natural Luka Modric long-term heir, I think for sure. He's much more of a final third player. He's much more of a connector between the attack and the defence. He's very progressive with his passing. Elliot Anderson, I think, is much more of a controller for me. He's a much more natural 6 than Adam Wharton. And so you might be thinking, look, they've already got Tchouaméni, they've got Camavinga, who could play a little bit deeper as well. Would they naturally sign an Elliot Anderson? I think they might. I think Elliot Anderson offers more defensive control than Adam Wharton, who can put a shift in, although Adam Wharton's form has dropped off quite dramatically in the last few months. Elliot Anderson, his numbers this season have been absolutely through the roof at various points, pretty much depending on who's been in charge and what style. Obviously, Forest are now onto their 4th manager of the campaign under Ange Postecoglou, whose passing numbers were absolutely through the roof. Now under Vitor Pereira, I expect him to have a really solid end to the season. I don't necessarily think Sean Dyche's style suited Elliot Anderson nearly as much. But why I like this as a move to Real Madrid is Real Madrid have a really, really well-established reputation for signing players that shine at the World Cup. Now, I don't necessarily think England are amongst the top 2, potentially even 3 favourites for the World Cup. But for me, it looks like Elliot Anderson, fitness permitting, will be the starting number 6. I expect it to be Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham, either side, if Jude Bellingham's fully fit, that is. And Florentino Perez has a well-established reputation for signing stars on the back of World Cup campaigns. So last time, in June 2023, 6 months after the Qatar World Cup, which obviously took place in winter, they signed Jude Bellingham. The cycle before that, in 2018, it was Courtois. In 2014, it was James Rodriguez, who had an outstanding World Cup for Colombia. He also signed Toni Kroos, who of course won the competition with Germany. In 2010, he signed Ozil and Khedira, again, who shone at the World Cup. He also signed Angel Di Maria, who was phenomenal that tournament for Argentina. In 2006, it was Cannavaro. In 2002, it was Ronaldo. Put simply, Real Madrid always sign a World Cup star. They just always do. And I think it could well be Elliot Anderson that arrives at Real Madrid this summer, adding so much more balance to that midfield, which is filled with athletes, it's filled with runners, it's got a lot of creativity in the shape of Arda Güler as well, but it doesn't necessarily have the kind of controlling tempo setting. So often this season, I think Real Madrid have looked a little bit lost in possession in midfield after Kroos and Modric's departures. I think Elliot Anderson really helps solidify them defensively and adds to their quality on the ball too. I think he'd be a really nice fit alongside Tchouaméni and potentially Bellingham going forward, with Arda Güler playing much more of a rotation role. Fede Valverde might have to well be used at right back as Trent Alexander-Arnold continues to pick up niggling injuries. But that's a really nice sort of roster of midfielders, and I think he'd do really, really well there. Whereas Adam Wharton, I get the impression from interviews and the way I've seen him interact with people, much more of a home bird. But I could be wrong on that. Who do you think Real Madrid will go for this summer? It does feel like midfield is the most likely area. My penultimate suggestion is Nico Schlotterbeck to Barcelona. I've talked about it on this channel beforehand. I just think he makes so much sense. Look, they are supposedly looking at a left-footed, left-sided centre-back, and the names in the hat, supposedly Nico Schlotterbeck and Pau Torres are their top targets. I wonder whether they'd also consider someone like Mickey van der Ven, who obviously has phenomenal recovery pace as well, so he can cover in behind Hansi Flick's offside line, which has caused them so many issues so far this season. They've not really got the balance right, they've not got the timing right. I don't think any of their centre-backs at Barcelona have had particularly exceptional seasons, maybe with the exception of Eric Garcia, who had a very strong start to the year. But Nico Schlotterbeck, for me, makes so much sense. This is a player of real quality, fantastic driver on the ball, good passer from deep. He's captained Dortmund and multiple times so far this season. He's got a reasonably solid injury record aside from that meniscus issue that he had last year. And he's only got 1 year remaining on his contract. And Dortmund have a reputation for selling stars for achievable prices, let's say. In the last 4 of the last 5 seasons, they've sold a player for over 50 million euros. Only 1 year in that they didn't. So it's a key part of their business model. It's what attracts so many young players to Dortmund, knowing that they play in the Champions League pretty much every year. They sometimes challenge for the title, and even in the last few weeks, it looked like they might enter the discussion before Bayern have got their form back on track, seemingly, as well. But Dortmund have a great reputation for selling players when they mature. In that Dortmund side right now, maybe Adeyemi would fetch a large fee this summer. But if they are looking to cash in on anyone, I think it's Nico Schlotterbeck. I think he works for Barcelona. I think he works as a sale for Dortmund. I think get it done. And finally, this one's a little bit painful, but it wouldn't be an episode on the Dougie Critchley Football YouTube channel without a mention of Sunderland, of course. And I actually think the players that I'm most worried about leaving this summer isn't your Nordi Mukielis, it's not your Granit Xhakas, etc. Even though Nordi Mukiele, for example, would be a great pickup for Juventus. I was really surprised that they didn't look at him last summer when they wanted a right back, ended up signing João Mario, but they could have gone for Getroida, they could have gone for Alex Jimenez, they could have gone for Nordi Mukiele. But obviously we've already covered Juventus, but I do think Robin Roos, I think there's a chance that he leaves. If Bayern Munich end up parting ways with Manuel Neuer, then I think they could well consider Robin Roos. I think that'd be a really progressive move from them. Maybe they'd look to sign someone with more top 5 league experience than Robin Roos, who of course has only played 1 year at Sunderland. But I also do worry that Noah Sadiki could be of interest to the likes of Man United, that look like they're going to sign 2 central midfielders, and to Chelsea. I wonder whether this summer Chelsea unfortunately cut their losses and move on from Romeo Lavia, who just can't stay fit. It's absolutely brutal, but it just hasn't worked whatsoever as a signing. Poor guy, when he has been fit and available, he's looked really, really good. But I think they potentially need to move on. Is Noah Sadiki the player and the name that comes in at 21 years old and instantly demands to start over an Enzo Fernandez, over a Caicedo? Absolutely not. But is he the sort of squad player with more Premier League experience than they've had as backups this season that could make a big impact as they look to rotate in the Champions League and Premier League more effectively in that area? I think so. And this season, his form's been a little bit up and down at various points so far, but I've been so impressed for a player of his age to come into a squad and a club that's undergone a massive turnover. He brings so much energy to the table. I don't think he's necessarily got the returns in terms of his driving with the ball, in terms of the positions that he picks up as well. He made a big error at the weekend, unfortunately giving away the ball, which led to that Iwobi counter-attack goal as well. But he's a player of real quality, and I think he's only going to get better throughout time. So if Chelsea offered £40 million for Noah Sadiki, I think it would be a key part of Sunderland's model to look to have a massive upturn in the likes of maybe Robin Roos, who was signed for I think it was about £12 million in the end, or Sadiki, who was signed for, I think it was around 20. So if they offered a massive profit on those players, I think Sunderland would potentially come to the table, because that is a key part of any club that's looking to establish themselves at the top end of the Premier League, is to sell and buy effectively. And Sunderland have done the first part really well with the buying. They now need to make those sales at the right time, in the right moment, and line up decent replacements too, which I do back our recruitment team to do, which is going to be led by Florent Gesolfi this summer by himself after Christian Speakman's departure in the last few weeks. So Noah Sadiki to Chelsea, I don't want it to happen, but I can imagine it. So guys, that was 5 obvious transfers that I think fix your club's biggest problems this season. What did you guys think of the list? Did you enjoy it? If you did and you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that red button. I've been doing way more short form content, but I promise you I will try and do more long form content in the next few weeks. It's just been a mental start to the year, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the truth on Friday. We are looking at the relegation battle. Are Spurs really in with the chance of going down? Stay tuned for my thoughts alongside Sam and Jack on Friday. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Have a great next few days, and I'll catch you next time.